My coach throws a hand in the handshake line, and all holy heck ensues. What'd you think of that and the suspension that Juwan Howard received, Seth?
Well, I mean, clearly it was most unfortunate for Juwan to lose his cool like that, and it's not the first time. You know, this happened last year when he kind of went after Mark Turgeon, the then Maryland coach, and kind of had to be restrained, which I've never seen a coach do that. I mean, coaches jawing at each other in the handshake line or getting ticked off at each other or saying things is hardly unusual. But to have a coach need to be physically restrained from going after another coach and then, landing a slap/punch on another coach, I've never seen that. And I think in retrospect, Rich, the school made a big mistake in not coming down on Juwan the last time. And when you sort of enable that type of behavior, then you're basically telling someone, hey, as long as you win games, you can get away with a lot of things. We saw that for countless years down the road in Bloomington. I don't know Juwan Howard well. He's a little hands-off with the media. Certainly, when I've been around him, I've liked him very much. I'm incredibly impressed by him. He's done an amazing job at Michigan. He's an incredible asset in many, many ways for college basketball. So I hope he learned his lesson that he can't keep doing this. And frankly, I think the school in the Big Ten got it right. I think 5 games is very serious, particularly this time of year for a team that's on the tournament bubble and fighting to play for its postseason. I think, anything more than that, firing him, in my opinion, would have been excessive. So hopefully, he learns from this and they can move on.
So I will ask you the topic that was red hot 48 hours ago, but I'm having you on now, so I'll ask it now. What do you think of the conversation sparked by what happened, that the handshake line should just be done away with since it's a mere formality that is now being used to sort of like Festivus, airing of grievances and then feats of strength? What do you think, Seth?
Well, I'm very impressed with that old school classical literature.
Thank you, sir.
I got to dust off my classics to come on your show.
Thank you, sir.
I hate that argument, Rich. I love the handshake line. I'm a sportsmanship nerd. I've got 3 sons who are all playing sports. My oldest son is a high school senior. They got knocked out of the playoffs last night, a very painful way for his senior year to end, and they had a handshake line, and he had to shake hands with the team that beat him, and I like that. 99.99% of the time, the handshake lines are completely uneventful. So my take is that if you can't handle the handshake line, you probably don't belong, certainly in college sports. I believe that athletics is education, and I believe that, if you lose a game, you should be mentally strong enough to look your opponent in the eye, shake that person's hand, and say, congratulations, good game, we'll try to get you next time. It's respect for your opponent, it's respect for the game, and I'm very much in favor of it.
Seth Davis here of CBS Sports and The Athletic and so much more here on the Rich Eisen Show. So let's turn the page to Wednesday night, and Michigan taking on Rutgers with Phil Martelli, the old hand from St. Joe's, and a lot of fans who might have been wondering where Phil went. And then they tune in tonight, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I remember that guy. He only won over 440 games for St. Joe's, right? And so he's going to be the man there in this unique position. And part of what I was, disappointed in, one of the many things I was disappointed in about what Juwan Howard wrought by throwing that hand is 2 players are now suspended for a game. And we're seeing this moment in the handshake line over and over and over again, and it's embarrassing more and more times that I see it. And this is a bubble team. They flat out 14-11, needing every W they can get here on out for the last 5 remaining Big Ten regular season games. What do you think of the position that Michigan finds itself in starting tonight, Seth?
Well, one of those players, Moussa Diabate, was coming off a career-high 28 points in a win over Purdue. I mean, he's a very talented recruit, a little bit raw, but, it was funny watching, I don't say funny, but it was fascinating watching that game. It was like you could literally see, I'm like, the light just went on with this kid. And they have a great center in Hunter Dickinson who's learned to step away from the basket. So it's most unfortunate. And, people may not be aware, but if you throw a punch, it is an automatic 1-game suspension. There's no deliberation about that. And again, why wouldn't he throw a punch? His head coach just told him it was okay, and physically. So yeah, it's super unfortunate. And they're playing now. It's good that they're in Ann Arbor, so that'll help. Maybe the pregame meal at Zimmerman's can get them going. But they're playing a Rutgers team that has been an amazing story, and they play a very physical brand of basketball. In fact, Rich, I didn't know this at the time, but because in light of what happened, this emerged on Twitter. When Rutgers beat Michigan at Rutgers, Diabate had to be restrained at the end of that game. And had to be kind of pulled into the locker room because he was upset. So, he's a kid. He's playing his way through it. But Michigan does not have a ton of margin for error. Now, I will say that the committee does take into account these things, with personnel, injuries, or someone's out for COVID, or there been a couple of games where teams didn't have their head coach. So if Michigan is like right on the bubble and they lose this game, the committee has the latitude to say, they didn't have their starting power forward and they didn't have their head coach, but there's only so far that's going to take. At some point, you got to win enough games, and that's what Michigan is up against right now.
Yeah, Illinois. Who would love to stick the dagger in more than Izzo and Michigan State, right? In a couple of games, a visit to the Ohio State. I can't forget to finish up. It's not an easy road.
It's a brutal league. They could go 0-5 the rest of the way, and that would make the decision very easy for the basketball committee.
How dare you, Seth? How dare you?
I'm sorry. 4 out of 5, they're at home.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.